minutes as presented, and with that note applied, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. Mr. Harris, recognitions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. With the close of our summer programs here in the district and the upcoming start of the new school year, I just wanted to recognize some employees and folks who worked on our Summer Lights On program. I want to especially shout out Vivian Brown, Nikki Kramer, and the entire staff. The summer program was excellent this year. We had 200 students that attended for 8 weeks. They participated in all kinds of clubs, including science fiction, arts and crafts of science, the scientific method, hands-on horticulture, gastronomy, doing all kinds of cool things. They had mini camps that included swimming, archery, mountain biking, climbing, CrossFit, volleyball, dance, and they had weekly field trips on top of all that. So the students benefited, parents I'm sure were glad to have their kids involved in all those different activities, a positive setting for kids to be during the day. And the end of summer family night had 200 participants, a little over 200 participants actually. So big shout out to all the folks that did Summer Lights On this year, that's such a success.
Can trustees enroll in lights on?
Yeah, I don't know about that, real good. I want to also give a little recognition to Paula Vincelette. She's a teacher for our pre-K program. So that's not technically part of Lights On, it's a separate thing, it's funded through Fremont County BOCES, but she had 3 sessions this year where kids got a chance to get a jump start in preparation for kindergarten. So last year there were only 2 sessions, this year we have enough for 3 sessions. So that was pretty exciting to see that many kids involved in the program. I also wanted to just give some recognition to our new certified staff. I don't have all the new classified staff names yet though, because we still got some vacancies. But I wanted to just recognize and name these individuals who are coming to our school district or have been promoted into certified positions, and the positions that they're gonna hold. So this doesn't include transfers, but again, at Peak we have Jordan Ring, who's our new speech language pathologist. Angela Pettibone is gonna be teaching special ed in the life skills classroom. Martha Porter will have 1st grade, Kathleen Lyons-Smith will have 2nd grade, and Carrie Johnson, our former para, will be in 2nd grade. And at Baldwin Creek Elementary, Holly Hayes is coming to us from Fremont 38 for special ed. Amanda Morey will be in 5th grade, also another former para. At Lander Middle School, Shelley McConnell is coming back to Lander as the family consumer science teacher. Darcy Wells coming to us from Fremont 25 as a multi-tiered system of support coordinator. Ashley Krenzel is going to be doing PE and health. Michaela Castellon will be doing 7th grade science. Terry Rodriguez will be doing 8th grade ELA. So that's our new folks at Lander Middle School. And last but not least, at Lander Valley High School, 2 new ELA teachers, Megan Hall and James Parks. Sydney Eichelberger is our new VAX teacher. Monica Leopold will do science. Maya Murdoch-Tugman will be social worker. And this isn't really a certified hire, but it's kind of a bonus. Kellen Friedman is going to be the new assistant principal, but you do that. It's not really certified, but I want to shout him out as a former Pathfinder graduate. So really proud to have all this new staff on board. We had our initial contract teacher trainings over the past several days, before last Monday. Last week we did all that. And the group was really energetic. They were really engaged, asked a ton of good questions, and I think they're going to be great additions to our team. So I want to recognize those new folks too.
Welcome aboard, Colin. You know, we often hear about losing folks to some of the other districts in the county. It's nice to see that we've got a few back.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I add to that celebration?
please.
I want to celebrate with Mr. Harris because we had several staff members move into other positions because of degrees they attained or something that they did to grow as professionals. And so it seemed like we had so many openings, but we had several people moving in to other positions like instructional coaches. The MTSS is a new position. So I think that says a lot about our district as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, this is the time when we take public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Does anyone have public comment for any items that aren't on the agenda? All right, seeing none, are there public comment for items that are on the agenda? I'll make sure you should call. And which item is that?
The transgender considerations.
Okay. What?
Mine is the lease with the city of Lander, just as a representative for the city to answer any questions as you review that lease.
All right, we'll make sure that we get folks. Yep.
Transgender.
Okay, we'll make sure that we open that up during that period. Alright. Board member reports. Summer reports.
Mr. Chair, keep it quick, I just recently had a State Board of Education meeting where, Deidre was really helpful and came on and gave some public comment, and I just wanna kudo, Deidre for being, she's on the CDAC, which is, I think, the curriculum directors, I don't know that.
Curriculum Director Advisory Council.
Advisory
State Board
Council,
of Ed.
thank you. So, her and other curriculum directors in the state give advice on, standards and testing and all that stuff, and so she just played a great role and has been playing a great role in that, and we voted to remove the third grade writing standards, which I think a lot of teachers will be really excited about, I'm sorry, third grade writing standards, third grade assessment, for writing, because, so much of it was being on the computer, and it was really assessing more attention skills, and pretty hard to, do at that time, and then we looked at reduction of the assessments for science and other things, and some of that was tabled, but just wanted to shout out to Deidre and just say our district is very fortunate to have her feedback.
Thank you, great job. I'm pleased with this because when I heard CDAC, I thought it was easy. So I'm just happy to hear it.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing when it's about me, you never know. Thank you.
Other board member reports? I did go to the drug testing information session last night. I think, Sarah should be commended for doing a great job. Some tricky questions about a policy that is in its infancy and it's the first time it's implemented, there's gonna be some growing pains in it. One thing that I did want to mention to the board, interesting question that was brought up was about parental notification. I think there was either an oversight in the policy or maybe it was just a level of detail that was, too in the weeds to actually have in the policy, but, I did mention that there's nothing, and I did mention during the meeting, there's nothing in the policy that says that we won't notify the parents. There's nothing that says that we won't talk to the parents about this. And so I think what Sarah is leaning towards, or I think what he stated was, after a student gets randomly selected, they'll be brought down, they'll be tested, and then their parents will be notified. Based on the KBD language, I think it's as soon as practical, which I believe is 48 hours, but I did go with the policy, but anyway, they'll comply with that KBD policy. So we might, in the spring, when we review the drug testing policy, that might be something that we look at, whether or not we.
Don't we request them to get an assessment?
Not just on the test. This is just when they go down and give the panel, give the urine test.
Oh,
During-
they're doing it.
Yeah,
Oh,
they just give you, yeah, no, for sure, that's a notification, absolutely. Yeah, no, this is just that the kids do a random.
Just a side note to that, Jared, and commend Sarah and all those who have been working to get this done for all our student athletes, which was 100% testing up front.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, that's a heavy lift. So all five of my kids have been tested in the last 2 days now, so it's also in that seventh grade to senior.
It's actually pretty cool. One of the things that I didn't realize that this company did was when the kids give their urine sample, they actually seal and they initial their own seal to verify that it's legit, it hasn't been tampered with one of these samples. But that was interesting. The other thing of note that is important, at least in my mind, because I'm a computer guy, when these things are sent off to the labs for testing, there's no names associated. It's just a number. So the labs test the number, if there's a positive, they come back and say, student 1, 2, 3 tested positive, and it's just the company we contract Okay, Mike, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple of notes here. I know at the previous meeting in July, I promised some information about statewide assessment results. I got clarification from the state that they're not actually gonna give us those results formally until much later, actually September sometime. I think it's September 27th, and that's just for the internal review. Our public assessment results won't be ready until October, so I didn't wanna jump the gun any more than I already had by sharing some positives, but I will be getting those to you as soon as possible. I just don't wanna put something out there that then gets changed after the fact. I was planning to talk a little bit about standards and assessment, but our state board of education representative here kind of filled us in on the standards reduction and the assessment changes, getting rid of the third grade writing. I did want to say also, that we've been working for several years to try to get extended standards, so students with cognitive disabilities have a separate set of standards that are known as the extended standards in shorthand. And we have not had those standards named in the campus grade book, which is a bit of a disconnect. But over this summer, I wanted to report that, Student Services Director Mindy Clancy and a team of people, including Carmela Demler, Nicole Show, and Chris Jones, worked a lot of hours to get those standards into the grade book, so now parents will be receiving favorable feedback on their students' performance according to the standards in every program in the district, so not just if your students in life skills, previous feedback was just sort of general and not really tied to the standards exclusively, and now this is gonna be the case, at least for DLA and that, it's a big improvement, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Your team. Couple of things, I know, the board has heard this because I sent the email out to them that I had received from Winter Valley High School, Principal Windorf, that shared some information about advanced placement. And I wanted to get that out to the public as well, because I think it's really exciting. We have record advanced placement enrollments in Winter Valley High School, including students with disabilities, students from all sorts of backgrounds. You know, typically you think that advanced placement, you think like higher socioeconomic status. Not the case at Lander Valley High School. It's any student from all sorts of backgrounds taking these advanced placement classes, and then the tests, which are required as well. So we used to not make every student take the test at the end of the class, and in that era, we had about 25% of our students score 3 or better. APs are scored on a scale of 1 through 5. 3 is a passing, and then 4 and 5 are higher levels of performance. But since making every student take the test, our success rate has increased to 68%. So 68% of the kids who are taking an AP class get a 3 or higher. So the class of 2015 had just 1% of their class receiving a 3 or better on an AP exam. This year, 39% of them graduating had a 3 or better on one of these. And then the AP folks have a bunch of different designations. They call it AP Scholars with Honors, AP Scholars with Distinction. And I'll explain what each of those are, but we had at Lander Valley High School this past year 26 AP Scholars, which means you've gotten 3 or higher on 3 or more AP tests. So you took 3 and you got 3 or higher on all 3 at least. AP Scholars with Honors means you've gotten at least an average of 3.25 on all your AP exams and scores of 3 or higher on 4 or more of those exams. And we had 9 of those AP Scholars with Honors. AP Scholars with Distinction means you've gotten at least an average score of 3.5 and you scored 3 or higher on 5 or more AP tests. And we have 6 of those AP Scholars with Distinction. So when we talk about high levels of learning, this is one of the ways that we show evidence of that. Kids are pushing themselves and being pushed by their instructors and the culture of the school to really go for that highest designation, to get college credit. In many cases, increasing their scholarship opportunities. Really, really proud of the performance of these kids, their teachers, and the whole school. So I wanted to report that as well. Last but not least, parents received a survey based on policy KDB, which was finalized in June. Remember, that's our policy on parental notification. One of the pieces of that policy required parents to opt in before any sort of services from the school and that related to health. So I wanted to just say the responses on that. 92% of our respondents so far, as of about 5 o'clock this afternoon, 92% of the parents surveyed had said yes to that. They did want their student to receive those services at school, and only 8% had said no. When a parent chooses no, they can then select which of those services they would like to decline. And so there's some saying yes, and there's 4 general categories: illness, injury, wellness, and mental health. So they can say yes to some or not, or just one even, or no to all. But it's important to just let you guys know that mentioned the four categories, so the first one is illness assessment and intervention, so a student comes in reporting some sort of illness. Of the 50 folks that, or 59 folks that said no, 30 of them that said no still wanted yes for that type of assessment and intervention. 31 said they didn't want any illness intervention, so, and then injury assessment and intervention, 34 of those 59 said they did want injury assessment and intervention, and 25 said no. Wellness assessment and intervention, 17 said yes, 42 of the 59 said no, and then mental health had the largest number of no's. Mental health, only 4 of the 59 said yes, they do want that for their student, and 55 said no, I don't want any sort of mental health assessment or intervention. So that's the preliminary, and it's 740 responses at this point. Great. And that's all.
Is that it? Anything for Mike on the supervision? You know, the one thing that I'd say is in terms of the AP numbers, you know, that obviously that starts in kindergarten, right? And we work on those the whole time. And we just want to give a big thank you and kudos to Mr. Newendorf for all of our work with the class. It's fantastic to hear these numbers. Hard work's paying off, so. All right, moving along, I need to get a motion for adoption of the stipulated agreements as presented. Did you want to? I would keep it. Just second. Second. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We get a motion for approval of the personnel actions as presented. So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carries. All right, Haley?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a motion, to approve the lease agreement with the city of Lander pending approval from legal counsel.
Is there a second? Second. All right, discussion. Melinda, would you like to
Thank you, Mr.
give
Chair.
us a few words here?
I would, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
So I just wanted to draw attention to our current park rules allow, thank you, Chris. Allow for consumption of alcohol between the hours of 6 AM and 11 PM. And I know that was, we discussed that previously. And I think, Superintendent Harris was concerned about sections 4 and 7. And those needed to be potentially addressed as items. We're, the city is comfortable moving forward and doing what the school district desires, but just getting that executed as quickly as possible. So that's it.
Great, and because I can't log into, Board Docs, what could you let us know what those sections are?
Mr. Chair, 1 second, I can pull it up, I don't have it right this second.
Also, do you want me to stay for questions or? I can stay.
Whichever you would be more comfortable with.
I'm comfortable right here. Would you be, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry, I just have my notes.
It was a while since we passed it, I just wanted.
Right, and we just passed the city rules, the city park rules that include consumption of alcohol and all, the city park properties.
Okay. That comply with this, that would comply with this lease, or?
Yes, as it stands right now, there's not, I don't think there's been changes to the current lease.
Put me on the spot.
Mr. Chair, I apologize, Mr. Sweeney is out of the office today, he's been primarily involved in the discussions with our school district attorney on this matter, so
for a concrete sidewalk at Gannett Peak, for the amount of $11,000.
So moved.
Any discussion on this? Sounds like it was needed, read through the request. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. And I guess with Travis out, this one might be a little bit tricky to understand, but we can get a motion for a budget amendments for fiscal year 2024, which changes the general fund support services to 8.9 million.
So moved.
Second.
Mike, I know you're searching, but can you give us, you share this one?
Mr. Chair, I apologize, I don't know specifically if that was an increase, and if so, what amount. The 3,000 series, I can tell you, has to do with, central administration, school administration, business administration, facilities, and some transportation expenditures, so the 3,000 series is very broad. But I don't know specifically within all those different function codes of what is increased or decreased to bring it to that.
Is the board comfortable doing this without Travis, or should we just,
Mr. Chair, can I suggest, since we don't need to put Mr. Harris on that spot, and we don't need to vote on this leave, I just was, you guys will both of those if that.
well, let's certainly table the budget amendment.
Okay.
Can we, is that okay to do that one, Mike?
You want to table that or just postpone it until next meeting, Mr. Chair?
Postpone until next meeting, thank you, sir.
I think that's fine, Mr. Chair. I don't think there's anything urgent with this.
All right, let's bring that back so that we can get some more information. I think everyone will be comfortable with that. Okay, I need to get a motion for the approval of the first interstate wealth management resolution.
Second?
All right, Mike, this one looks like it allows you and Travis to enter into, investment issuance.
That's correct, Mr. Chair, so what this is, it represents a resolution that the district has an account with First Interstate Bank. It's been in existence for several years, as far as I understand. This is just updating the name of, the two signatories on the account. So no funds can be withdrawn. Previously, this was Travis Sweeney and Dr. Barker. This is just updating the names on there to reflect, my new positions.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I need to get a motion for the approval of 2 leave requests.
Second.
Mike are you recommending the approval of these?
Mr. Chair, yes, both of these folks have been paraprofessionals in our district. They're both looking to become teachers. One of the candidates needs leave for most of the first semester. The other needs leave for just part of the semester, starting in October and into a little bit of November. But we're excited for these folks and their willingness to kind of grow in their positions and expand their skill sets and hopefully become teachers. So I'm in favor of this request.
Well, we get this worked out. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're working on getting Travis on the phone, so that, because he does want to get this, he would like to get this budget amendment worked out. Here, I'm calling. Thanks, Charles. Hey, Travis.
Hello there.
How's Africa? You're not?
No, I'm in hospital.
Everything okay?
Oh, yeah, my dad just got that back surgery today.
Gotcha, okay. All right.
Everything's good.
could you, can we bring this one, back up for consideration? Oh, yeah. So, Travis, would you like to explain to us what the, details are on this budget amendment?
So, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, it's kind of hard not to do that, I'm looking at you. Yeah, the budget amendment is something we do every year. By state statute, we're required to, build our budget by function codes, and that would be like the 1,000s, 2,000s, 3,000s, and 6,000s. And, any time that we overspend in part of one area of the budget, for our auditors, we have to just amend the budget for the prior fiscal year. We go through this every August, September timeframe. It's, like I explained, when we have the budget hearing, we overspend the general fund budget by, like, I think $250 million, but in hindsight, that's something we needed to do to keep our reserves under the 30%, so that's kind of the explanation.
So Travis, does this represent any, like an increase in the budget, a decrease?
It just increases it increases what we spend in that function code.
Oh, okay, so it's sort of a hindsight reconciliation of what's already happened?
Absolutely. That's for the FY 24 budget.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions for Travis on this? All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Travis. I hope things go well up in Cody.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Add one more piece. So apparently there's some question on the lease agreement with the city.
Yes.
Mike and I have been working on that. I had been emailing Mr. Koldicki, and I actually emailed him last week, I think. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. And, he said he was going to, because the city had emailed us back on a couple of questions that Scott had brought up. And so I replied back to Scott, asking him to give us his interpretation of what they were asking. And we thought we were gonna have it by tonight, but apparently we didn't. So
We spoke with, Mr. Kolpicki and,
Yeah.
he was comfortable with us moving forward contingent on his approval.
okay, perfect.
And do you remember, now that, since you're on the phone, Travis, do you recall what the alcohol provisions were in that contract? That's the one question that we had.
I'm not sure, I think the whole confusion on the thing was, if you guys remember, a while back, you guys had decided, with all of these property, not to allow alcohol. And then I think the city came back and said, well, that's gonna screw us up on what their rules were, so that was kind of the sticky widget.
Okay.
As far as I can remember.
So on the current iteration, you don't know where we landed?
Well, with Scott's last full, edit of the lease agreement, we said we weren't going to allow alcohol. And I think that's when the city came back and said, well, this is gonna mess us up.
Okay.
That was one of the two questions that I had sent to Scott that the city had sent to us.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
Any other
Sorry,
questions?
Frank.
You're all right.
Confusing is fun.
That's okay. That's, more clarity than we had before the mud was swung around. All right, thank you, Travis, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah.
You too, bye-bye.
Mr. Chair, I don't have that, I must have been looking at an article
if we wait for another month in terms of the city?
Mr. Chair, school board members, nothing.
Okay.
Our rules are in place, we're just waiting to solidify and execute the lease and move forward, so it doesn't, it's fine.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay. Anything else for action? Can we, move on to discussion? All right. Oh, Carol? Approval of lease? We did.
I was doing on my phone.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. And it was unanimous thumbs up. All right. Okay, discussion items, WSBA awards. Mike, do you wanna track this
Sure,
here?
Mr. Chair, so every fall, the WSBA asks school boards around the state, if they want to nominate any of their, folks around the community in the school district and outside the school district for two different awards that the Wyoming State Board Association gives out. One being the Golden Bell and the other being Champion of Education. So we actually had, two winners of the Champion of Education last year. You might recall Deidre Meyer was one winner, and then Mr. Phil Lee, our former middle school social worker, was one of the awardees as well. So just wanted to put it out there and remind the board that that process is coming up. Nominations are due October 14th, so I wanted to get that on the board's radar, so if you had anyone in mind, we could make sure we nominate them by that deadline.
All right. Did some of those recommendations come from the district itself, or were those board nominations also?
Mr. Chair, their board nominations, I think we had discussed a couple, there were a couple people's names that were floated, and I think that was, discussed, but, yeah, it's up to the board whether to nominate or not.
I would not, discourage the district from putting forward names as well, first to consider. Any discussion on that item? Okay, put your thinking caps on and see if we can come up with some names for, next meeting. WSBA resolutions, there was a call for resolutions from the Wyoming School Board Association, as they normally do. I certainly don't have any on the top of my head that would be resolutions, but if we do have any, resolutions, we can take those to give those back to WSBA for consideration during the, convention, so, do you know when the deadline for that is?
Yes, Mr. Chair, same deadline, October 14th.
Okay. So between now and next meeting, would be the right time to consider what resolutions you might want to be considered. And so, bring them up. You can, feel free to send them to me, between now and the next board meeting, we can get them on the agenda. You want to do that? All right, so, transgender considerations is the next topic. We had, a lengthy discussion last meeting. And what we had decided was to, put it aside last meeting and then have people send me some considerations for, modifying the original policy. We did receive two alternatives, not complete rewrites of the policy, but rewrites of various sections of the policy to consider. The thought tonight was that we would, go through each one of these different areas of the policy and consider that. We did have some other discussion about this, earlier, and I'm wondering, is there any appetite to continue to do that tonight? Would we rather table it tonight and give it some more thought? Based on feedback that we received, what's the wishes of the board?
I would be okay delaying this and we put more thought into this, what we heard from Mr.
Mr. Chair, I agree with that.
I concur. You with that, Karen?
Yeah, I'm fine with tabling.
Okay. Eileen, Kathy?
I'm fine with discussing it at a later time and thinking a little bit more about it.
Okay. consumable form, for the next meeting. That sounds all right. We do have some public comment regarding this topic. Do you folks still want to have, okay? If you'd like to come on up, please state your name into the microphone, and, we'd like to limit these, discussions as always to 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Riley. Thank you guys for letting us still speak, even though you tabled this. Mostly just wanted to put this out loud for you all to hear again. I don't know what your concerns are that you are waiting to hear from your attorney, but I've heard some feedback from staff who are concerned that coaches may not be able to use nicknames for students without violating this policy as it was originally proposed. So things like, calling a kid champ or ace, or, things that coaches do as part of building those relationships with those students, would violate the policy potentially as originally proposed. And so I wanna know what your thoughts are on that, and if that would be allowable for coaches to continue to do that, and if it is allowable, I wanna know why that is not considered, discriminatory then to not allow students to tell you which nickname they prefer. So just those kinds of things I would really like you to consider. The other thing is, if a student is introducing, a friend of theirs to a staff member who does not know that student, does not have them on their roster, and may not have a reliable way to check in that moment what their legal name is, if that staff member, the student says, hey, this is my friend, Susie, but Susie's not actually their name, that's just what their friends call them, is that staff member then going to be in violation by using the name that they were introduced to the child as without any immediate reliable way to check that? So just some things, as always, that I'd like you to consider. There are unintended consequences, as we saw with the drug policy conversations last night, things that come up that you don't think about. So just to encourage you to really think hard about all of the pieces that come together when you make a policy like this, and make sure that none of the parts of it that you're putting together are discriminatory, because the policy as a whole and its original form is very discriminatory, so please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Anyone else?
My name is Brenda Surf. I'm a mental health therapist in labor. Before I was a mental health therapist, I spent many years working with homeless and at-risk young adults, 40% are LGBTQ. And as I read this policy, it really scares me. I know that some have said that like the idea is to reduce suicidality, but that is not what I see as a therapist. I see this policy increasing suicidality. I see it advocating for bullying, and in a way, it really is bullying for bullying students. I had an intern do some research for me, and I can, as we look through, the evidence-based research, as we look through what the professional societies in this country say, everyone from the American Psychiatric Association, the American Central Medical Association, the American Association of Counselors, they all go back to say that using kids' pronouns as they have to using the names is a huge aspect of decreasing the mental health harm that we see in kids who identify as queer. And I'm really curious to see the changes that have already been made, because what is being here really scares me as a therapist in this area. We already have the highest rate of suicidality in this country, and this is just going to increase it. And I know that you guys have a really difficult job here to manage the law and the ethics. But right now, that the law is not advocating for the ethics. This is going to cost harm.
Thank you. Well, we tried to try to get names and I missed yours over here.
Brenda, sir.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, come on up.
Evening, my name is Jeff Stanberry. I read this policy backwards and forwards. I work as an attorney, I've represented school boards, I've sued school districts, and I've represented students accused of bullying and harassment. I read this policy, and, everything comes to us in a different light, and when I started down, below, I saw, in terms of the registration process, a process that may work for everybody and families in terms of making decisions in terms of our children in consultation with our kids and what's best for our kids. And when I got to the section that talks about referring to others' names and pronouns, I see nothing but an immunization of bullying, a condoning of bullying. And I realize that there are savings clauses in here that essentially say, it will be subject to our bullying policy. But I guess I have to ask that when this board took out the protections of LGBTQ students from, as a protected class, if I misspeak, please correct me, because it was a while ago. The fallback was those protected classes already exist. The bullying policy exists, it defines what bullying is. And so a statement like using these terms in passing shall not be considered bullying, that's an immunity. That is an absolute removal or exclusion from the bullying policy that somebody defending a bully gets to utilize. And I don't understand why that's necessary. Instead, referring to others and letting the bullying policy govern the conduct of our kids and letting our administrators handle that and evaluate and do their investigations is what I would request. I hope that the board will view that in light of the environment that we're creating and not immunize that type of activity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Let's stop it. Great. All right. So, anything else on the board? We're over there. Okay. Section J, policy audit results. Want to cover what these WSBA's was?
Sure, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I think you'll remember earlier this year, I think late winter or spring, you authorized the WSBA to go ahead and conduct a policy audit, basically going through all the school district policies and seeing where we have a match with different state requirements or federal requirements, where we have something that may be inadequate or outdated, and so on. So the first section that I had WSBA start with is section J, because that's our largest policy section. It deals with policies that are pertaining to students. And I was kind of blown away by what we got back from WSBA. In your packet there, you see the unabridged spreadsheet, which has 134 rows of current and potential policies that are either recommended or possible under this section J. So that was it took me a while to get my head wrapped around this, so if you're still struggling with that, I can empathize. It's a lot. The good news is what we have in terms of required policies, we are okay. We have the required policies according to what the WSBA policy or audit revealed. There are several that are recommended. I didn't list all of them, just because there are several of them. But as far as the ones that are required, the only thing that came back in the audit for section J was about equal educational opportunities, and that's our district code JB. Copy of that in the agenda as well. Policy JB mostly talks about working with students who are covered under section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. And WSBA's advice was to include something more broad in that policy dealing with protections for equal opportunity for equal educational opportunities for all students, not just those under section 504. My response to that is that we have existing policies that contain similar statements that are not necessarily in policy JB, but they are found in policy JB NB and policy JFHI. So I believe the district is covered when it comes to ensuring that we have that
just got run over.
I will say that this is very fitting of WSBA, they're very thorough, and I appreciate it, but it's a lot.
I know that one of the ones that they had, that is on the list that we have discussed informally from time to time is the policy. Mike, I know that you've been, pretty interested in some kind of policy there. Might be one for you to review, their model policy, your template, see what you think there. But generally, I'm not a big fan of trying to add policies that aren't needed, going through and just picking ones that don't really necessarily apply to our district or things that aren't necessary.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Kathy?
I have a question for Mr. Harris. Are there any policies, I mean, obviously, we don't want to do them all, but are there any policies on there that strike you as something we should consider for, having in the near or distant future?
Mr. Chair, Dr. Head, I don't see anything in there that necessarily are gaps. I think what some of these recommended policies are what I believe is, many of these policies are represented in our student handbooks, but not necessarily expressed in policies, aspects like, of alcohol, tobacco, substance abuse by students, things like that, that may be recommended. We don't have a policy, but our student handbooks are very clear on those matters. So, although I can't say exhaustively in all areas, which ones we should potentially prioritize, I do think we're not lacking in any area, that would be critical to the operation of our school, I don't think.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Kathy?
the fact, Mr. Harris, that we do approve the handbooks really virtually makes it almost policy, even though it is a handbook. So I don't have any problem with just saying the handbook covers that and we're golden.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, is there anything else? I mean, I don't necessarily think we need to roll through each one of these and try to give some consideration. I mean, if members of the board want to look through this list and bring one forward, one or more forward they think are important, great, but, I don't necessarily think that we need to have a concerted effort to sit down and exhaustively go through this list and yet.
Mr. Chair, the only other thing I would add is that if the board member is curious, there are some model policies linked in on that spreadsheet, so if you see something interesting, you can see what WSBA has as far as like a starting point for school district, and that may be useful to any member, but especially the policy committee.
Yeah, that's pretty valuable. Thanks, Mike. Any other discussion on the policy on it so far? We've got other sections to consider later, but, we want to start with. I think this is actually gonna be, I think it's